3.3 Design Pattern Service Locator. First, just a few words about design pattern in software development. In order to make the development more efficient, so people create many design patterns. You don't have to use those patterns, but if you use some of the patterns, you can improve your development efficiency in some special ways. Here we look at one special design pattern. So it is called a service locator. You have option to choose if you want to use it or not. All right, so let's start. First, in the previous video, I described the second solution. In the second solution, we create a container, right? So then we shift the responsibility so that our business service class does not need to create and maintain the dependency objects. So that responsibility is shifted into the container. Yeah. So that's the improvement in our second solution. Yeah. Here, first, I want to go through the properties of the second solution. So then we go to another round improvement, third solution. All right, so let's look at the key main properties of the second solution. Yeah. First, central module. So we create a central module, so the container, yeah. So we introduce the key concept, container. Yeah. It is created to handle all the components. Yeah. Components. Yeah. Last time I gave you the meaning. Yeah. Right. The resource. Yeah. Component. Yeah. So typically a valid Java object, so we can call a component. Yeah. Inside this application. Yeah. All right. Next, the service classes never need to worry about creation and management, this part, of their own dependency objects. Yeah. That part, that's a big responsibility reduction. Yeah. Reduced to as low as possible, but still it has some responsibility still there. Yeah. All right. But this is a big improvement. Yeah. The responsibility is shifted to the container. Yeah. The container has more and more responsibility because it is a central module. So if we put a lot of responsibilities there, it is okay. Yeah. Because the total responsibilities still must be the same, right? Yeah. So you can only shift. Yeah. So if you reduce from one place, you have to add it to another place. Yeah. When some implementation class is changed for a new business requirement, shifting, PDF, HTML, that part, the service class does not need any change, but the change should be taken care of in the container. Yeah. So when you change dependency object, right? Do not change any Java code in your service class. Only change in the container. In container, at this point, it's okay, we can change the Java code. It's a central module, right? So you change a lot of dependency object names, change in a central location. It is better than change in, many different Java classes, more efficient. But that change still not the best. So we improved a lot, but that's still not the best way to do. Because that change, you still need to compile your Java classes, and redeploy, all the settings, things, still there, But we move one big step forward. Next, the service classes are more reusable than before. Service class, no change, more reusable, right? Because they do not rely on the implementation classes anymore. Okay? It doesn't implementation class anymore. All right? Yeah? Improved. Improved. But still not the best. All right. It is much more efficient to make the changes in a centralized location. So here, I just mentioned before, in a centralized location, everything is in this place. So you can make your change at different places easily, rather than changing a lot of things in scattered Java classes. All right. So in the container, then to change the dependencies in all those service classes. You need to keep track of those service classes, right? And that's a lot of work. All right, so that's another improvement. Then the last one, the relationship between the service classes and their dependencies becomes partial loose coupling. Now here I put a parenthesis, partial, because it's still not a complete loose coupling. There is still a small relation there, right? How do you get the dependency object, right? So you still need some way to get your dependency object. See? So that's the key properties of solution number 2. Now the new problem. We continue the improvement. Currently, the responsibility. How do you get the dependency object? The lookup logic, right? So we use the lookup logic inside our service class. We still need to reach out, access the container using use its special method, get component, to retrieve the dependency object. We need to do that part. That part we call the lookup a component. Lookup logic, write a code, lookup logic code there. All right, so it could be complex due to different lookup mechanism. You need to get different resources through different lookup mechanisms. Sometimes could be complicated. So you need to consider that factor. All right. If we try to reuse the service class in a different container, different project, later we want to develop another project, but the service class pretty close, we try to reuse it. All right. But this time we need to consider, if our new service class needs a new lookup mechanism, how do we make the switch? So now you need to consider that cost, that modification cost. Okay, yeah. Then we have to modify the code of the service class. Yeah. So that part still can be improved. Yeah. Still, it has room to improve it. Yeah. Can we shift the component lookup duty from the service class to another class? Yeah. Regarding the improvement, we take the step-by-step approach. The first time we do this improvement, we shift the component lookup duty from the service class to another special class, to other classes. The responsibility is still there. The lookup logic is still there, but we just do the shift. Not in the service class, but in a different specialized class. So that's the new improvement idea. For this reason, we use the design pattern service locator. There is a simple design pattern, very simple. It's called a service locator. It is a special Java class, but it can do this kind of special work. Look up the certain component, lookup duty. Yeah. So that's the new improvement. The goal, shift the component lookup duty to some other class. Yeah. So we introduce a new concept, service locator. Yeah. Some properties. First, it is a Java EE design pattern. Java EE, Java Enterprise Edition, it has many different design patterns. So we will learn one by one. Yeah. Something, it could be useful. Yeah. Give some good idea to improve your code efficiency in certain situations. You need to consider the situations. Sometimes, if the situation is not quite right, don't use it. You do not have to use it. Yeah. All right. So this class implements the lookup logic. Okay, yeah. So yeah. And in this class only does that part. It do not put some other unrelated things in it. Yeah. Just focus on the lookup logic. Yeah. And the lookup logic is independent of any component. Do not make the lookup logic related to any special component. Why? So the reason is very simple. Because many different components may need to use the same lookup logic, right? Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. So several different components can use the same lookup logic for the same resource. Yeah. So you need to make it independent. All right. The reusability is improved. So if you do this way, then the reusability is improved. Slightly improved. Yeah, improved, we agree. But still there is a tight service locator, a different Java class. So there is a connection there. Okay, yeah. Next, I want to show you how to make this idea happen. So my next two slides, I take the code segments to show you how to make it happen. The first part, make and use service locator. So very simple. So we create a Java class called a service locator here. Yeah. So in your real code, So you may need to specify different types of services, right? Now, you may have many different service locators. If you only just write this, how do you know which service, which resource do you want to look up, right? Yeah. First, we need to access the container. Yeah. So get the static instance. The same way we used last time. Yeah. With that static instance, you can call its get component method to retrieve the resource stored under a special key. Now, name, report, generator. So that's the name the container uses to store that resource. Now, here in your service locator, you just create this get report generator static method. So you can call this method through its class name directly. So that's the static method. You do not need to create an instance variable to call it. Yeah. Although you can, but you do not have to. Yeah. So this way is a little faster. Yeah. The static method. All right. So then inside your report service business class, how do you call the service locator? So this part you call. Okay. Yeah. All right. So report generator, right? Yeah. So you return, but you just access the service locator, the class name, because you just need to call its static method. So you do not need to create an object. You do not need to create do instantiation to get a service locator object. You don't need. You just use its class name directly. Yeah. So then you do not need to specify the resource name. Report generator, you don't need to even mention it. So you don't need to know it. You just trust this service locator to provide you the right resource. That's it. Okay? Yeah. So that's the small improvement we are going to do in our third solution. All right. Then, with this simple solution, next, we need to summarize the properties of the service locator. All right. So what are the properties? So let me discuss these properties. First, the service locator encapsulates the lookup logic. Yeah. So that's the reason we design it. Encapsulate lookup logic. Yeah. And it relieves the lookup burden from the components. Here you can see our business service class. It does not need to worry about which resource it should select. Okay, so that burden is relieved. Yeah. You still need to get a resource, but you just trust the service locator. But you also need to choose the right service locator, because you may have many different service locators. You need to pick the right one. Yeah. All right. A service locator for a component can be used by many components. So not just the one, many different components. And it is not bound to any particular component. So independent. So remember, so that's the reason we want to make the service locator independent. To the component, any component. Yeah. In this way, you can see that's the efficient part, improved efficiency part. Yeah. So for one special resource, you only need to develop one service locator. Then all the components can use the same service component, right? Later, if you want to modify one special part of the lookup logic, you only need to modify one Java file. Comparing with the older way you do not use the service locator for the resource, right? In that situation, you have to write your lookup logic in all those different Java classes. Okay? Set many different Java classes. And it is very hard to keep track of all those Java classes. Now, consider the situation. You need to modify one special small part lookup logic somewhere. Then you need to go to all those different Java classes. Remember, you may not keep track of all those. Then it is very time consuming to make the change. Yeah. So that efficiency issue, that improvement is pretty big. Yeah. You centralized service lookup logic. Centralized. Yeah. This service locator plays as a center to manage this particular resource. Lookup logic of the resource, not creation management. Right? Creation management, that's the container's job. Only lookup logic, this service locator's job. Yeah. All right, so next. Components can access the lookup logic through simple methods in the service locators. Yeah. So in our previous slide, we saw it. So very simple. Calling its static method, it will return the right resource object. So that's simple. You do not even need to know the resource name. So that's a lot of burden relief. Yeah, quite some burden relief. Yeah, but still, you still have a little bit burden left. So in the next few rounds, we will eliminate all the burden. Yeah. All right, the last one. The service locator design pattern not only improves the reusability of the components, but also increases the efficiency of the code. Yeah. Efficiency of the code, yeah, we already discussed a lot. That centralized way. Yeah. But the reusability, so here, let's look at the reusability. Suppose we need to still use this business service class in our next project. Yeah, we may have the similar feature, so we need to use this business service class. All right, but when we use it, most of the time, you need to use a different dependency object, right? You need to use a different dependency object. So that object you treat as a resource. You also, suppose you also use one service locator to get it. Now, although you do not need to change the name of the dependency object, but most likely the lookup logic should be changed, right? The lookup logic should be changed. Yeah. So you have some responsibility there. Yeah, in your new business service class. Yeah. So that part still to be improved. So you can, for this part, so that's why when we say the reusability, so you can say we improved a little bit, but still, conclusion, we are not satisfied with the solution. Okay, so the result, the solution, our solution number 3, still we are not satisfied. We're still not satisfied. So nobody will be happy with this solution. All right, that's the part B.3. So we complete this part B. So next time we will start part C. Part C will be the last part of our module 1. So when we after that, we will complete the introduction to container topic. So this is the foundation of this class. So that's why we spend a lot of time trying to understand the container concept, its roles, its responsibilities, the main ideas better. But next part, we will have a big concept to learn. So that's the dependency injection concept. So that next part is really big. All right, so dependency injection concept. People call it DI. Okay, we can treat it as another design pattern. So remember design pattern. Because this pattern is extremely useful. So it's another design pattern, extremely useful. So this concept, we can say it is the most important concept of this whole class. Our whole class, the whole semester, this is the number 1 biggest concept. So in our module 1 part C, so we will learn the biggest concept for this course. And after that, we will use this concept everywhere. Everywhere. But it is pretty easy to understand. It does not mean it is hard to understand. This concept actually is pretty easy to understand. It's a simple concept, but extremely useful, extremely important. All right, so that's our main topic in our next class. All right, so let me stop here.